John Wick, John Wick, John Wick, John Wick, John Wick, John Wick. You guys want to talk about John Wick?
Sure.
What's up, fellas?
I thought that was a Monster Energy drink.
It was not. No, I have this
What is
beer
that?
here, and it's some turpin. What is this? Turpin.
Oh, that reminds me.
Turpin.
Getting
That's some
getting
beer.
right into the corporate sponsor. Turpin. Oh, check this out. Check this out.
Oh,
If Blanton's wants to sponsor us,
Blanton. Scott was looking for some Blantons after we saw this movie.
it's not easy to find.
Yeah, apparently.
man! I felt like you just walked into the darkness. You walked out of the darkness back there.
That's fun. What's going on, dudes?
Not much, bruh.
I'm Daddy's a little hanged tonight, so I need all of you on your best behavior.
Come on.
You understand?
I'll be on my best behavior.
Okay. Well, we
excuse
are
me.
we're talking about John Wick tonight. If you,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
If
think
any of
we'll
you
talk
out there
about
haven't
John
seen
Wick.
these movies, you are doing yourself a disservice. I've found a few. I keep finding traitorous members of my own family who haven't seen these movie films. and
Speaking of
I-
traitorous members
correcting
of your
them.
family,
what's that?
Did someone scratch your face?
Oh no, I fell down some stairs and then I just kept falling and kept falling and falling and
In Paris? You know, there's
yeah, 222 steps.
they have a thing where you can just it's a ride. You don't have to go up any of steps. It's just like a elevator thing.
Couldn't you just throw yourself down those steps and that would kind of be like a free ride?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So if I every week I have scratches all over my face, it's because my nephew's going through his terrible twos, and all he wants to do is fight. And if he can get
I know
anywhere,
that.
he ran across. We were having
That's all
dinner
you
tonight.
want to do.
He ran across the room
Mm-hmm.
and stabbed me with a fork,
You probably deserved it.
and then threw the fork and ran off. I was
Did
very
he watch
proud.
John Wick 4?
Yeah, he was primed and ready to go.
Don't
With
give
an-
that kid a pen.
With the
Yeah, with a pencil.
with a
Yeah.
pencil.
Yeah.
Oh,
Without
fucking
fucking
pencil.
pencil.
Oh
Anyway,
God, it's
okay,
so hot in the suit.
so we are.
Not bad.
I'm all over the place because Daddy's. feeling
Wow.
we're
the best show
on
we've
number
ever
12.
done.
Number 12 tonight, fellers. Adding another sequel
God, this is
to
good.
this sacred list.
The sequel month is this is the last sequel of them. Well, sort of. This is the last sequel of the month.
Right. Okay. All right. Quick review time. I kept it simple. Again, y'all could just go see these movies. John Wick Chapter 4 continues the trigger-happy madness of the John Wick series, doing exactly what sequels do best: escalate. The primary theme of this series is rules, choices, and consequences. This film fully realizing the ultimate consequence of John's failure to stay retired, all the while maintaining the essence of that which a John Wick film is: elegance. Has there ever been a more elegant action film series? I think not. These movies are simply gorgeous. The production design and cinematography are off the charts, and when coupled with the sociopathic executions and mayhem-driven set pieces, creates the perfect marriage of beauty and brutality. They also brought Donnie Yen in for this chapter, which is always a good decision if you want to class the joint up. There's not much more to say other than go see this film and rejoice in its majesty.
Yeah.
John Wick movies are good. And
But more
that's-
importantly, they're fun.
and they're fun, and the world building is off the charts, and this really just everything we've been talking about lately with sequels has been in the arena of here. Let me just pull it up again. Where are you? Oh, that's kind of a terrible look.
That's terrible.
Terrible. Why am I messing this up? Where's that? Okay.
There we go. There we go. Hey, you.
Everything is like the problems I had with some of these were they would undermine their own essence, right? It's not like every single movie in a franchise has to be exactly the same, but don't
Scream
undermine your essence, right? You can explore the space, but don't get rid of that which makes your, an installment of a movie a proper installment, right? Like that was my problem with Scream was suddenly Scream 6 is trying to be a slasher movie without the smart film commentary, the meta film commentary. And that's what kind of, did it in for me. But then something like Ant-Man didn't have the fun Ant-Man stuff. Magic Mike's Last Dance didn't have the fun Magic Mike comedy stuff. It tried to be too serious and all that, tried to be kind of art housey. Whereas Creed 3 absolutely embodied its essence. Same with Shazam. Missing, if you want to count that in there, these and this just John Wick 4. McCurdy, will maybe you can answer the only question I have is this was obviously delayed.
Yeah,
I'm curious how much it changed in that delay, and is that why it's so long, or you know what I mean? It's a
I
This is
don't
probably
have
something
a.
that Curdy will go into, but is it same director, like
It is.
We'll
writers
go
and
into all
everything
that.
for all four, or
No, but we'll.
No.
You know
Oh.
what? What?
Okay.
Let's jump over. Come on, guys.
Yeah, you go
let's,
ahead.
Let's jump over to our little slideshow,
Little
shall
trivia.
we?
Yay.
Little
ranked.
Get
Project
ranked.
23. Real quick though,
Talking
I'm just gonna
about-
throw this up just because I didn't before.
Uh-oh.
SB
is this
rejoined.
accurate?
We're back to 13 members.
He
Good job,
rejoined
what?
because I gifted a membership when I was gone, and he got
Yeah.
it. He always gets them.
Guys, I am not a member anymore. I'm not a
Really?
member anymore, and I don't own any merch. I
This right
failed
here.
this.
Just right there.
Yeah, I need
Charlie,
to get
next
that.
time I'm
That's
over
what
at
I
your
need.
house, I'm stealing one of those.
Yeah, I
That's what
ordered one of
need,
these.
bro.
I ordered one of these. They sent me 3, like just on accident. They sent me 3.
There have been other issues, right? Where you didn't get a sticker, but you like other
Yeah.
stuff too.
Yeah, the sticker's still in production. I contacted them. They had
Oh,
weird
okay.
problems, and then but then
So
the
they-
mugs, they just sent me 3
So people,
for some
if
reason.
you need a coffee mug, maybe buy one. Maybe you'll get like 12.
Exactly, and then share them with your friends.
I wish we had ranked pencils.
A fucking pencil. Anyway, McCurdy, go ahead, sir.
Pencil. All right, here we go. We got John Wick Chapter 4, directed by a bunch of names I'm going to butcher. So hold on to
I don't know how to say Chad's.
Hold on to
Lord,
your
I don't know how to say
potatoes.
it. Yeah.
Stalinsky, written by Shay Hayton and Michael Finch, based on characters by Derek Kolstad.
Not even close.
Not even close. How would you pronounce it? You tell me.
Stahelski?
Stahelski?
That's
not
how it's
bad.
written, at least.
All right, let's talk about Derek Kolstad real quick. The John Wick world was created by Derek Kolstad. Kolstad wrote a couple of Dolph Lundgren movies, keeping in theme with this month's earlier Creed 3, of course. Those are the films at the bottom right there. And then he, in 2012, he then wrote a little script titled Scorn that would star this actor named Keanu Reeves. And then Reeves would later suggest that they change the title to the main character, John Wick, who is actually named after his grandfather, Kolstad's grandfather, not Keanu's grandfather. And then the reason Kolstad did not return for 4, so he only wrote the first 3 of these movies. There's actually multiple writers on the third one. Was initially a studio decision, basically because he wasn't the sole writer on 3, and the studio could turn into whomever to write the next on the franchise. He did go on to say this. He said, no, someone asked him this in an interview. He said, no, it wasn't my decision. When you think of the contractual of these things, the third one I shared the credit with any number of people, then have to come back to me. And so they didn't. At a certain stage, the studio will tell you your creation is graduated and you wish it well. I'm still close with Chad and still close with David, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited to see. So, and David's the guy who directed the first one as well. So, and then Kolstad he is working on developing they're writing a continental TV series currently. So there
No way.
the John Wick universe that we'll be seeing hopefully in the near future.
Okay.
All right, then we got our director here, director Chad Stalinsky. Why would it be Stalinsky? It's that H and the EL. Fuck you.
There's
Chad.
no N.
Yeah, it's just like Stahelski. I'd have to look at it.
Stahelski?
Stahelski, not Stalensky.
Stahelski. He shrunk the kids, guys. Come on. That's not even a joke. Okay.
I do this.
Stahelski, he
shake my head.
co-directed the first John Wick with director David. God damn it! These like Polish Russian names. I'm not.
You got to put him on the screen. You got to put him in the actual.
I need to put him in the
thing
the
next
things.
time.
Yeah. David Leitchik. Is that his name?
Just keep going.
He directed Atomic Blondes. He's the guy who directed Atomic Blondes, Deadpool 2, and then recent Bullet Train. Stahelski has been the sole director of these films since then. He got his start in the business as a stuntman and famously was one of the late Brandon Lee's stuntmen in the movie Crow before his tragic passing. He was also Keanu's stunt double in the Matrix films. His credit also includes major action films as a stunt coordinator and fight choreographer. And then I believe with Civil War, he was the second unit director. A lot of times on big budget Hollywood movies, usually stunt guys will move up the ranks and end up becoming like second unit directors on movies with a lot of action scenes.
Okay, so wait.
Say
So
the name
he
of-
was this man right here.
Yeah.
Was the stunt double for Keanu for Neo in the Matrix, and then is this Stahelski?
Yeah, that's
Who directed all 4 of these movies? That's dope.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
you have to wonder if he approach Keanu with the idea, or how did that come about?
Well, I think
awesome.
I think it was because the first movie is so stunt heavy in the first place, and that's why he was like co-director on it, not just a second unit director, because it's like so much of it is second unit, there's a lot of stunts. So they basically gave him the later films and were like, here, you can just direct.
I'd be scared though with all the guns on set and the unfortunate.
Well, if you watch
the
the behind the scenes stuff, they don't use real guns, like they're using air pistols and stuff.
Lame. That just ruined this whole series for me.
You're welcome. But I mean, if you watch the movie, you watch how the stunts are in these movies. There's no way that they would be using real, as far as real blanks and everything like that. So they wouldn't be doing that on these films. All right, next up we have the writers of the movie. I said the original writers was Derek Kolstad. New writers here we have Shay Hayton. Hayton is 29 years old. He looks like he just graduated high school.
Yeah.
His writing credits on the previous John Wick, as well as Zack Snyder's Army of Thieves. He currently is working on Snyder's next Netflix project, Rebel Moon, as an executive producer. Michael Finch, on the other hand, has a writer credit on films such as the 2010 Predator movie, The November Man, and Hitman Agent 47. In an interview with Finch, he described that Chad and Keanu wanted to just basically expand the universe. Essentially, Hayden was a writer on the last film, and then it sounds like Finch went in to do a lot of rewrites, and most of his writing credit is a lot of rewrite stuff. So it was hard to find, like, there wasn't a lot of information on him, so he was kind of a ghost in that respect. So I was like, who is this guy? Next up, we have this film is filmed in a lot of different places, guys. Like, they go as many places as any Bond film. They just travel the damn globe.
Do you not have Osaka? What is that top right one? That better be Osaka.
It's not. But it's not. But hold on, I'll explain.
I was excited when I saw Osaka. I was like, what?
Yeah, so they filmed at France, of course, Germany, New York City, and Japan. Wadi Rum Desert in Jordan was used for Morocco this time. I believe they even said that they were inspired by David Lean, sorry, wrong director. David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia. So they went to Jordan this time instead of going back to Morocco. They
had a straight up homage to. Did you catch the Lawrence of Arabia homage?
I don't remember. It's just such a damn long movie.
Well, one of the it's like a very famous cut is he's holding a match. And he blows out the match, and then they cut to the desert sun. Yeah. And they did the exact same thing here. They have Lawrence Fishburne holding the match, blows it out, and they cut to the desert sun just as he is chasing those guys on horseback to kill the Elder.
Nice.
And so there are a couple of those. I never wrote them down, but there's definitely
I have
A
at least
series of
one in
film
here.
references within these movies.
Yes, this one had a lot. I guess with that one, I didn't catch that, but I should have. I didn't
I'm
have
an
that.
editor, so
I see
know
that. That's a
so
famous.
that-
That's a famous cut. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Nance, yes, they did film in Japan, but
Oh, my mom's upset at you too.
No,
How
they
dare
did.
you.
They filmed in Osaka. The thing is, the
Osaka.
International Congress Center in Berlin, which is that picture in the top right, is actually where they filmed the Osaka, Japan. That was where they filmed the hotel. Was actually in Germany. So they do a lot of. They did film in Japan, but there was a lot of stuff that they hopped around. Like they were filming in Berlin, but scenes in Berlin were taking place in other parts of the world. And then, of course, we got the. Hold on, where am I? Yeah, we're talking about the hotel in Japan. And then you've got the. I'm not going to speak this because I don't speak French.
Do it.
If
The
you
Arc
need me to say
de
Japanese stuff, let me know.
Triumph.
Arc
Triumph
de
is that what it
Triomphe?
is?
I think it's just
Triomphe.
Triumph. Yeah.
Bottom
The
left
roundabout in Paris. So we have a huge action scene that takes place there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the
Yeah.
end of the movie.
There.
Won't spoil too much there, but the Sacré Coeur.
The Sacre Bleu.
The duh in Paris. And apparently it's a basilica in Paris, but the church itself has over 300 stairs that definitely get utilized in this movie.
Didn't they say 222?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But
We had
they
3
talked
minutes.
about it in an interview. It's like 300 steps.
I was there a
lead
few
up.
years ago. It was close to where we stayed, and it's a lot of stairs.
Where
But
are
there
your
is
pictures?
there's like an elevator thing. That
Why
you
are we
don't
not
have to
looking
take the
at
stairs.
Why are we not looking at
I'm
a
looking at
travel
pictures
log?
right now. How do I give them to you?
Nan's
Because-
travel log.
Because I don't know. You asked Nance.
Yeah.
You asked Nance. Okay, so this is my favorite part of the movie. So one of my favorite movies of all time is The Warriors. And so there's that weird France scene where basically everyone comes after all of John Wick. And they play that song called Nowhere to Run, and it's by Martha and the Vandellas.
And the bounty just keeps
Yeah.
going up every 5 minutes. It's another $1 million.
I should have, and then I should just have like this tight close up, and I've just done the entire scene like this today.
Yeah.
But basically, that is from the movie The Warriors. It's straight out of the film. Everything from the extreme tight close up to on her face as the DJ is like calling them boppers, which is another reference from the movie, to them like getting all their weapons and like coming into groups. That is basically spilled straight from that film. Nance, have you ever seen The Warriors?
No,
You've never
I
seen The
can't
Warriors?
say I've seen all of
Charlie,
it. but
have
I'm
you seen The
familiar.
Come over and
Warriors?
watch it. Come over and watch it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, and Nance, in that movie, basically it's kind of a similar thing that happens, but in the film, the Warriors go to this big thing in New York where all the gangs of New York come together,
Yeah.
and they're like, we're gonna take over New York
Warriors.
one borough at a time, and their leader Cyrus gets shot by this guy, and they blame it on the Warriors, and the Warriors have to get back to Coney Island. That's where they're from. And so because they're blaming it on the Warriors, basically all the gangs of New York are after the Warriors, and there's a famous scene in that movie where it's referencing. So yeah,
and let's not
Love that
forget
part of the
the most obvious reference, which I don't know, maybe in the
there's
third
probably
movie?
more that I did not catch.
But
so
the
you tell
most
me.
obvious one, because these are movies that have both Neo and Morpheus in them. At one point, they're like, "What do you need?" And he says, "Guns." Lots of
He
guns.
does say that.
You know.
He does say that, doesn't he?
So, and it's just these movies are a blast.
They're awesome.
They're just a blast. So,
Of course, there's
yep,
this
go
guy
ahead.
named Keanu Reeves.
What?
I literally didn't write anything about him. I just said there
Yeah.
really isn't much to say.
Who?
Then the only thing to say is, yeah, he's
Yeah.
bad. Like that's it. That's all you got to say.
Yeah.
There's not
It's-
much to say. About him.
Keanu's one of these actors who is strongest when he like I always
Doesn't
say about
say
someone like a
anything?
Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't think he's that great unless he's cast well. If DiCaprio is cast in something like The Departed, where the character is this really frantic, really on edge guy, then he's good. But he can easily be horribly miscast. Keanu Reeves can easily be horribly miscast. But when you put him in, Like, who else could have been Neo with the, where he basically is like Bill from Bill and Ted. Was he Bill or was he Ted? I don't even know.
I don't remember.
But I'm assuming Bill.
No,
No, he was Ted.
he's
He was
Ted.
Ted. Yeah, he was Ted.
Esquire, because Bill was
Yeah. Admittedly, I have never seen those movies, so maybe someday. But
What?
But
Come on,
What?
we're watching this.
yeah. But
Oh God.
and then now there's a third one, but
Oh wait, you guys didn't
but
see that? Okay.
he can. Like, it's
What,
been cool to
69
see
mega?
this weird Keanu.
No.
Like, well, it was a few years ago where suddenly everybody was obsessed with him. Like and now everybody's stuck on Brendan Fraser. But
well, they want him and Brendan Fraser to do a movie together.
that makes sense. That's like
And John Wick
Netflix.
5.
Yeah, Netflix ran
John
their
Wick
algorithm.
5
Everybody
/
likes
The
these guys.
Mummy 4.
Yeah, don't get me started on The Mummy. That's like the first movie I ever loved. Anyway, you have more? Because
Yeah, bro. I mean, we got so much more, bro.
Okay, keep going.
We got
I
so
won't hold
much
you back.
more. And I want you to comment on all these people because you probably have better things to say than I do. You got
I have
Donnie
no
Yen.
idea who the tracker is. He's a new
Yes.
face to me, but
He's a
Donnie
new face.
Yen.
So Donnie
Mr.
Yen,
Eatman.
he
Yeah,
plays
I thought
Kane.
nobody looked like somebody, but
Yeah.
I
So
don't
Donnie
know
Yen
who he
plays
is.
Kane, and then you have Shamir Anderson plays the tracker. Donnie Yen is well adversed in martial arts, Chinese actor. He's probably best known for playing Imp Man. Did I
apparently
butcher that one
He's
too?
very small.
He's very small.
man.
Eat man.
Man.
Eat man.
Imp Man.
And well versed, not adverse.
At this point, I think there's at least 4 of those movies, if not
Yeah, I
5,
didn't
and
realize.
I think they do
those-
4
like,
of them.
I was
Those are awesome.
looking him up today, and his IMDb is definitely mostly Chinese stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
of
then
course,
Star
he was
Wars.
he was
and-
in Rogue One, which
Yeah.
is he getting typecast as a blind?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
right.
mentioned that as like his character in this movie is very similar to the Rogue One character that
He
plays.
insists.
And then I thought was
insists that he's
interesting.
blind.
I'll be in the movie, but I have to be blind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Action royalty. Yeah, and then I was gonna say that, yeah, so he practices Wing Chun Kung Fu in those films, which is interesting because Shamir also practices Wing Chun Kung Fu. So there's kind of a weird tie there. And he kind of came out of nowhere. Like he's the second guy, Anderson, he was an Canadian actor. I think he's best known for Wyatt Earp or Wyona Earp, right? Is like a science. I think it's a science fiction series. I don't know anything about it, honestly.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
don't
he's
know.
not. He kind of just came out of nowhere. And then in an interview, Michael Finch had talked about how Kane represents a version of Wick if he had taken the Elder's deal in 3 and killed Winston, and the tracker represents someone getting into the game and doesn't understand that making the deal with the table means you will never get out. So I kind of thought that was kind of a cool perspective on those two characters. And
Say
like,
that
you
again, though.
see
Say that about Kane.
He said that Kane represents a version of Wick if he had taken the Elder's deal in 3 and killed Winston.
To kill Winston, yeah.
And like,
Okay.
and I thought about that as you're watching the movie because these
that's
these
cool.
two characters kind of dress like Kane kind of dresses like Wick, and then the tracker has a dog like John Wick, and so I'm like, these guys are kind of shadows or shades of John Wick in some kind of weird way. So I always thought that was interesting that the writers kind of made that intentional with both of these characters.
I thought maybe the tracker was going to be somehow related to Halle Berry's character in 3 because the dog is like the same dog.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was something that I was like, bringing a dog back again. But
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they make the joke in every one of these movies. Like in the third one, when she says he shot my dog, and he's like, I get it,
Yeah.
But
Agreed,
yeah,
Nico.
I mean, I thought they were great additions.
Yeah, they were both awesome characters.
Yeah, I think Kane was just phenom. Is there anything better than that moment where he's like, John, are you dead? But it reminded me of a moment from Inherent Vice, if you guys saw that, where it's Joaquin Phoenix
I
guns
love
a
that
guy
movie.
down, and yeah, it's a great movie. It guns a guy down, and then he's walking down the steps like this, and he just goes, "Did I get you?" It's just like that. But
I like when
Yeah.
he yelled at Skarsgård.
I like
okay,
his
so
back. I like
is
his
Skarsgård
backpack.
next on this?
No, he's not next
slide?
because first we've got. Hold on.
Winston.
We got
Okay.
Lawrence. We have Lawrence Fishburne playing the Bowery. I'm just gonna purposely screw these names up now. Ian
That's
MC
fine.
Shane. Can that one? Does that one
Stop
work?
it. Just
Is
you
that
stop
he
it.
comes back as Winston and the Bowery King, of course. I don't have anything to add to these guys unless you guys want to comment. I mean, obviously, Fishburne came back from playing the Matrix. It's just weird because in between these movies, they did Matrix Resurrection, and he wasn't in that movie.
Mm.
But did he? I can't remember. Did he die in Revolution? I don't remember.
No.
So it's like,
No.
yeah, maybe he just didn't want to come back. Whatever.
I don't know.
So,
I haven't
yeah.
seen the fourth Matrix. I don't plan to. The only
You're not gonna like it.
only
We watched
reason
the
I thought you did see
trilogy
it.
not that long ago, but yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't seen the fourth.
I thought you
We-
saw it.
we watched
thought you
my
saw it
edit.
and
No,
didn't like it.
I will only
that's
watch
right.
it. I will only watch it if
Charlie
we
looks like
rank
he's in
the
the
Matrix
Matrix.
movies.
Okay.
I need somewhere to put my anger. I can't keep
Okay.
it inside because it gives
Oh,
me
thanks,
the
Tim.
cancer. So,
Okay. Oh, okay.
hey
All right.
Tim, what about my suit? What about McCurdy's suit? Anyway, all right.
It's too
Next.
dark. You can't see
All
what's
right.
going on.
Yeah, I know, right? Can't see anything.
I was hoping he would pull the it
Ugh.
eye at some point, but it wouldn't make sense.
Hold the what?
It eye.
Yeah. Start drooling.
Yeah.
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 He kind of has it going on there on the left.
We got Bill
barely.
Skarsgård. And of course, this is the second Skarsgård we've talked about this year. The first one being his brother, which I've now
Yeah.
forgot
In
his first
Infinity
name.
Pool.
In Infinity Pool. And then we've got Clancy Brown comes and plays the Harbinger. It's kind of a similar role to the Judicator from the previous film.
Well, the Harbinger makes sense. The Harbinger, I mean, that's a
Pennywise, yes.
somebody who's like an emissary, right? The Harbinger title makes sense. The Marquis, what does that mean? Because I was kind of confused for
Let's
a
just
little
look it
bit, where I was like, okay, wait, is he high table or is he something like an adjudicator?
is
And
the
then
high
he is-
tabler.
He is, yeah, he is a
He is the high table, but
high-ranking member of the high table.
I need
but-
I think
a
the
graph that shows the whole management structure.
yeah. I want to know
'Cause
who
they just
the
keep
other
going
people
up.
are
Like the
at the high
elder-
table.
Yeah, because the elder is because he's the man above the table.
This
And
guy's
then the
under
Marquis is a
table.
part of the table. Like, is the elder kind of like a figurehead that doesn't really have any power, or does he have power? Because you kill him off in the beginning of the movie, and then you're like, spoilers.
Yeah.
Which,
spoilers.
by the way, I didn't put this in there, but the guy plays the head of the table is a different actor from the third one, by the way.
Yeah,
so.
which again was I couldn't help but think that was another one of
Like,
those things that
too
maybe
many-
changed
or too many.
as the movie was delayed because of COVID and everything. And he says something like, you could kill. He references the fact that he's a new elder now.
Yeah.
So that was also kind of an odd moment. I understand. I don't think that guy died or something, the actor, but
No.
for some reason they couldn't get him back for one day to just cover off on that.
Yeah.
I
And
don't know.
and was that just revenge? Was killing the elder just for revenge? Because before
wanted
we
his
get into
ring
it,
back?
let's
Well,
finish.
yeah,
this.
let's
this
finish
stuff.
this real quick.
Yeah,
I'm
he
gonna
did get
let
the ring
Mans-
back, didn't he?
No, he
Yeah,
didn't.
sorry.
he?
A Marquis is not Marquis. The Marquis.
Marky Mark.
Is I'm sorry, I'm getting my Star Trek.
I need more
names
wild turkey.
backwards. It's a nobleman ranking above a count and below a duke.
Okay.
So
How
that's-
old is Bill Skarsgård?
17.
He's probably our age.
Right?
He's probably a
'Cause-
little bit older than us.
Well,
or
because
our age.
the trouble is that you would think that the
32.
elder
He's 32.
the
He's
elder
our age.
could have been older,
Slightly.
and the
Yeah.
Marquis. I mean, the fucking Harbinger is older than the Marquis, and I get that. Like okay, in the second movie we see two members of the High Table, right? We see the woman that he sent to kill, that D'Antonio sends, and then D'Antonio himself, who inherits her seat, and he's kind of young, but he pulled some shit to get that seat, right? But his
Yeah.
sister was
Killed
old,
his sister,
like
who was
older.
at the table.
Yeah, and then Bill
Yeah.
Skarsgård comes in here, and he looks, 17.
But I don't think it's an age thing. I don't think he looks that young though. I think he
Well,
looks about what
I don't know
he
if it's
should.
the Harbinger, but someone says to Bill, like, don't let your ambition like outweigh your value or
Yeah,
something
and
like
I got
that,
the idea.
which is
I got the
interesting.
idea that he is. Yeah, he's. Very naive, but very headstrong and arrogant.
Very well
and
dressed.
That
What
that
I
was
what I really wanted
you know
in this was I was hoping for the escalation to the point of, okay, is there actually a high table, or is that purely metaphorical? Is that
Yeah.
real? Is it not real? And
It's
then
just
also,
like
who are all
Spectre.
the people that sit there? Yeah, I maybe it would have been lame, but I almost would have appreciated finally seeing what we heard so much about, the high table. The high table, you hear it all the time, and
Yeah.
then we just get this one guy
But it could
versus
have been.
John
It
Wick
could have been.
killing all of it. I would be like, John Wick goes
Yeah.
on a worldwide spree to one by one take out every member of the high table. That would have been proper escalation, right? Starting from
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't quite get it, because is it families that sit at the table, and that's why he had to get
some
into
families.
that one family?
Yeah, it seems like I don't know if it's 12 families so much as it's 12 people, and there's all these families fighting over that stuff, So I don't know.
I don't know
Anyway,
if you guys touched on
keep
who's
going
the
though,
Harbinger.
McCurdy.
All right.
What's his
If
deal?
The Harbinger is just like an emissary. He speaks for the high
Okay.
table, so
it's
he
a
would show up.
It's a similar
Representative.
role. Yeah. It's not exactly the same as the Judicator, but yeah, it's a similar role as far as like being a voice for the table, essentially.
The Harbinger is the meaning of the word is literally a person who announces or signals something.
Yeah.
A harbinger of death is like
Yeah.
a famous theatrical thing. So anyway, continues.
So yeah, I almost didn't include these because I thought I had too many, and then I was like, oh wait, Nans is gonna be mad if I don't include
You just hate
the
Osaka.
Yeah. You tell me these names because I'm gonna butcher them. You wanna give it a go, Nans? Do you know who these guys are?
I have
You're the only-
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yes, he plays
And then the
Shimazo-
girl.
So Shimazo Koji. That's it. That's the character he plays as Koji.
Oh yeah.
Come on,
the girl is-
don't make me do it. Koji.
And then
You know,
the
I love
girl
being
apparently
monetized.
is like a pop
My favorite
artist
thing
or
to do.
something.
Yeah, it's Rina
Rina Sawayama.
Sawayama plays Akira, his daughter, and then
Akira.
of course Sun has played multiple samurai and ninja roles. Last Samurai, he was Scorpion in the last Mortal Kombat movie. He was in Westworld.
He's great. I love
He's been in a lot of
Every
stuff.
time I
love-
see
he's
him, I'm
great.
like, oh yeah.
And then Rina's this is her first acting role, but she was a Japanese pop artist, and so like they just kind of threw her in this movie, and she's in the movie.
think she's
I don't know.
a
She's not bad. She's just but
British
kind of.
pop artist.
So did you guys
Yeah.
stick around for the post credits
I
scene?
did.
You did? Okay.
No.
We're kind of, let's just say we're in spoilers from here on. We're
Spoiler
in spoilers territory. I'm
territory.
tired of
Do we
dancing
get
around
more
it.
of her in the post credits? Because I
All
was
you
hoping
get-
she'd come back.
All you get is Donnie Yen Kane is going to see his daughter, and she walks up with a knife, and it cuts out. So
that makes sense.
it can
Okay.
be
So we
assumed
might
that
get
she
another-
probably tried to kill him and then died horribly. But
Yeah.
but that's why I mean, I'll just come out with it now. If you don't want to hear the ultimate spoiler of the no. Let's wait till you're done with your
Let's wait.
slides.
And then
Let's
finally,
keep going.
let's
Keep going.
Charlie, I'll let you
No one
comment
cares about
more
criticism.
on Senor Rance.
Lance
We got
Reddick.
Lance Reddick.
He's, as you have right there, my all-time favorite TV show is Oz, and
Yeah.
he played his whole character arc was that he goes in as an undercover narc, trying to bust up heroin dealing in the prison. If you haven't seen Oz, it's fantastic. It's disgusting. It's disturbing. It's I had a sister of mine watch 5 minutes, and she said it took her a week to get over it. Watching 5 minutes, and she was traumatized.
Oh my God.
When people ask me what is that show about, I'm like, it's about RAPE, man on man, RAPE, and heroin, and that's about the gist of it. But yeah, so he goes undercover to bust up a heroin ring, and he ends up getting hooked on it because they make him do it to prove he's not a cop, and he ends up getting hooked on H, and then or tits as they call him in the prison. They call him tits. Hey, yo, man, you got those tits, yo? Which is hilarious because you're sucking on them, right? So, and then he ends up murdering a guy to get in with the gang. So he ends up murdering a dude who actually is another fellow cop who had some dirt on him, and he ends up going to jail for real at that point, like becoming one of the inmates. That's his full character arc, and that's all I knew of Lance Reddick until I saw this movie. I mean, I've seen The Wire, I've seen Lost, but he never really registered with me other than he's just that guy in Oz to me.
He was,
and then he shows up in this, and he's dope.
He's in, and that was the thing in most of his movies. He's The Wire, Oz, Lost, Fringe. Most of his roles are in television, and then he has this role, of course, in John Wick. And of course, like we're going to talk about it more later, but he recently passed away at the age of 60, natural causes. So it's very unfortunate.
I wish he would have been in the movie more, but he wasn't not in the movie more because of his passing. The movie, because if you remember, it was only a couple weeks. Like they had already shown the movie at South by Southwest by this point. Oh, okay.
So you got to remember, like they had already planned to kill him off in this movie, and they may have already known that there was something health wrong going on with him, and that's why they had killed him off.
That's the thing. When you say natural causes,
that's what it was listed. I don't know the specifics. So
like he just died in his sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just don't.
Someone out there might know more than I do. So.
Another one of these post-COVID sudden deaths. Demonetized.
All right.
Put it on, McCurdy.
All right.
SB though, by the way, saying Sopranos is better than Oz. I feel that.
All right,
I got you.
Now the question a lot of people might ask is, now we're gonna get into spoiler territory here. Is this the last John Wick? Is this the last one?
He dies.
So initially, hold on. Initially, this film was announced to be chapters 4 and 5, but due to the pandemic, was made into one film. And I think that's part of what you guys were asking is like, was it originally intended to be? Is that why this movie's longer? And my guess is maybe it was they had more, because apparently the original cut of this movie was much longer, so they just sliced it down. And I don't think it would be hard. The original cut. Yeah, I don't think it would be hard with these movies, considering how much a lot of it is just like why he's here, long action set piece, move on to the next action set piece, and so on.
Maybe they explain the table more.
Yeah,
and they were like, you know what? It doesn't matter.
Like cut out that sequence that I was talking about, where he's in this country killing the high table person, then he's in that country killing the high table person. Yeah. That seemed to me the natural progression. That's where we were headed, right?
Yeah,
because every movie just escalates just a little bit, right? As sequels should, and they take this all the way to the end. They take it to a moment where I was in denial. I'm sitting there and I was like, okay, wait, Winston is crying.
Yeah.
So do they, because we've seen John get shot to shit, just shot to pieces and pull through. And I'm looking at it going, well, he'll be fine, right? I know we watched him fall down 200 stairs and all that. And he's had the shit beat out of him. And then he's in a duel where, Mr. Kane wounded him something fierce, but I was in denial. I was like, okay, wait, these guys are all starting to get emotional. They're kind of hinting at he might actually die here, even though these wounds don't look that much more significant than what we'd already seen.
I thought they were purposefully not hitting each other directly.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Just like the doctor in
2 or 3 or something. In the third one, where the doctor has him. Make sure you don't graze my.
Don't hit my collarbone. Shoot me right here in the gut. They both get hit like in those exact spots.
Exactly.
But he's shooting a blind. I mean, it's a blind man.
But he's really good.
He's really good. And then, of course, so Reeves and McShane are supposed to come back for a spinoff, Ballerina, which is already apparently in the works. They're already filming it. It stars Anna de Armas, and she's playing the ballerina character that you see in 3. So that's the picture. Like, she's barely in the background, but she's basically a ballerina assassin.
Yeah, cool.
And this film is going to take place in between 3 and 4. So we'll see how involved John Wick is in that film. Is it
We'll see how involved
heavy
Ana
or
de
not?
Armas is.
Yeah.
It'll be exactly like No Time to Die.
Yeah,
Which,
but,
I mean, sure.
but hopefully good. Like there's actually a
She's
character
barely
there
in
and
it.
some substance, you know.
And then Keanu puts on the tutu and starts killing everyone.
Yeah,
killing everybody. So
but
yeah,
that's my number one question, because it was like, well, wait a second, now we're just done. And I would completely respect any franchise. You guys have heard me a million times. You know, we all know that cash rules. You know, but
Which is basically
wouldn't
what
it be
Nico here is
nice if
saying.
somebody could just end a franchise in its prime, right? And if they, you know, I was like, please don't, like, John, like, I hope your hand doesn't burst out of the grave, you know. It's like, you know, or like John Wick in hell, chapter 5, hell, you know, he's like in hell gunning down demons and shit. I'd be like, oh no. But if this is it, if there really are no more, they, you know, they do something like this, they do Ballerina, they do the Continental, they do whatever, and John Wick truly is gone, rejoice, y'all, because they just nailed it. They nailed the progression, the escalation, and the cap, and did it in a way where they don't, oh, it made $1 billion, so now we gotta, you know, have John Wick bust out of the grave and be a zombie or some stupid shit just to make money. So.
There's a part of me that wishes this was this was not the end, and we knew there was going to be a chapter 5, which again was the initial plan, was that they were going to do a 4 and a 5, like film them back to back.
But it would have been this story, you're saying? It would have been this
they would have just
over
stretched this out into 2 different movies, and I think it would have been easy to do it. You would just have to refocus as to what is the pivotal end mark. I do think that part 1 and part 2 movies don't always do well, because part 1 always kind of ends very lackluster, because you know there's going to be part 2, and so it's like it doesn't feel like its own movie. But I part of me is like, this movie was so damn long. Like, they could have padded at least more action in this movie and made it closer to a 2-hour movie, and then done the same in the next one. And I think it still would have really worked. But you know, that's like maybe my one major gripe with the movie. Is just like, it's so long that I do wish it was 2 parts, but at the same time, I can't complain too much outside of that.
My question though is what after, because at the end it's Winston gets what he wants, Kane gets what he wants, and John gets the shit end of the stick by passing away. But what, you know, there almost could have been that kind of like what Cersei would always say in Game of Thrones, we're going to break the wheel, right? We live in this world, and I mean, the John Wick movies, if they do anything beautifully, it's the world building, right? It's this whole universe where everybody on the planet is an assassin, and there's this whole organization to it, and everybody knows the rules, everybody knows how it operates, right? And that's why the themes are choices and consequences, and, you know, the beautiful line of the beautiful line, Jesus Christ, of without rules we live with the animals. And that's meaningful, especially in a world today where we're told rules are oppressive and we should reject any kind of icky, uncomfortable things. Consequences are bad and they shouldn't exist. And this movie says, well, no, you're stupid. Consequences are always, I mean, we live in a
society,
in a universe where time moves forward. So, you know, actions therefore have consequences. And so I appreciate it for that. But at the end of this, so the high table just keeps going? You know what I mean? Like, a paradigm shift within that world would have been cool, where maybe the high table dies and something replaces it, or because we've been hearing about the high table for so long,
or something.
Yeah, so just one guy from the high table's dead, the elder's dead, the marquis is dead.
I think it's one of those situations, though, that they allude to. It's like, it doesn't matter. They're like because he says something like, they're like a Hydra. Like, you kill one of them, another one replaces it. And we already see that.
But that's my point.
Movie.
That'd be like destroying Spectre. You know?
And it's like, and I do wonder if, like, it's like we get there's 2 things, right? Like, one, you're wanting to see, like, we want to see more of this world. We want to see more of this world. The problem with that is when you deal with any kind of, like, and we've seen this in the James Bond series, and if you deal with elusive organizations, if you start to, like, really peer into it, it's not as cool. It starts to become lame as fuck because
Sure.
we've seen that in what happens. And so, and we've seen it in other series too, like Marvel did the Marvel Netflix series, right? You have Daredevil, Luke Cage, and all those, right? And then when they did the Defenders, like the villains were the Hand, and they were lame. Like they were cool in Daredevil, and then they became lame in the Defenders all of a sudden because we were like, oh, this is what it actually is. It's not as cool.
But
I feel like
the
they
high
wanted
table,
to
though,
skirt that. Yeah,
seeing
they
the I
wanted
don't
to skirt that. And
I don't
they
think
were like,
seeing the high table would have been lame. I don't think it would have been like, boo. I mean, because I don't know. Is it like I said? Is it a physical? Is it a literal table that people sit at? It could be, and I don't think it would be
Maybe.
lame if we saw that.
I just think it would be
Um,
weird. But here's the
Yeah, I
here's the
don't know
thing.
how you pull it
The one
off.
thing we're talking about, right? We're talking about the end of this movie, and like, John Wick gets it at the end of the
he
movie.
dies.
He dies. But there is, and I think who was it? Said someone. Nico said it, right? He says, "Hell no, we didn't see his body getting buried, and the movie is making bank." Right?
If you
Okay,
don't see
that's
dead,
true.
if you don't see a body, that's like movies 101. If you don't see them dead, then they can always come back.
So there's a potential possibility, though, that the end of this movie is actually late. Like I'm thinking it could be like the end of this movie is the true end of the story, but then there's like a story in between him getting shot and then that next movie. That's a potential possibility. And my head canon is like, oh, there could be another movie in between here that they haven't figured out yet. Or, maybe he isn't actually dead and they hit his body. Like we don't know. So maybe he's now the next movie, he wakes up and he's out of the Matrix and now he's no longer John Wick and his name is Keanu.
Maybe he's out like he wants to be. I don't know.
Yeah. There's an infinite things that they could do with the franchise.
I think they should just leave it.
I
wish he didn't die. I love
for
these
that.
movies. I love Keanu in them, but I think they've done what they can.
Remember, Halle Berry said, you will die. Turns out she was correct. And I will always appreciate a beginning, a middle, and an end, and not the end that takes place so far down the road that it's far past embarrassment, right?
And we'll get more
an athlete coming out of retirement or whatever. And you guys have heard me say this a million times. Like something goes on until it's embarrassing, and then they dust it off and reboot it and all that. And if this truly is done, then just like take a bow, a final applause, thank you, and because you're not allowed to do that today. It just has to keep going, and I hate that. It really sucks. I mean, for me, probably the worst in recent history for me was when they rebooted Halloween, and I thought it was such a fantastic sequel to the original. Right? It's like you pretend like no other Halloween sequels existed. You have original Halloween, and then you have Halloween 2018 or whatever it was. But it made so much money that they then made a couple of sequels that were just embarrassing, and they'll probably keep doing it, as opposed to nothing can ever die with honor. It has to become a zombie.
Maybe they want Keanu to get out clean, but we're still going to get John Wick movies. Like the ballerina, whatever you're talking about, that trailer for Sisu, which is like John Wick killing Nazis. That looks awesome. Not Keanu, but hopefully that guy can pull it off just as well as Keanu.
Nico, Rocky Balboa. That's Rocky Balboa played into him getting old, right? It just continued the story, and then Creed continued the story. I have nothing against those movies, but when it's any other given franchise that, like, I mean, it's something like I didn't see the fourth Matrix, but I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't mess with what you got here. You have perfection. Can't you just leave it alone, walk away?
We'll see.
Just walk away. So okay, let me.
I did forget to mention though. Hold on, I did forget to mention. No, we could talk. Well, I did forget to mention the guy who wrote the first 3 movies. He also wrote that movie Nobody that had what's his name from Better Call Saul.
Yeah,
and which is funny because their character in this movie is the Tracker, aka Mr. Nobody.
Yeah,
and
so he's referencing his own movie. No doubt, he didn't
write that one. He didn't write this one. So I do wonder though. There's some people that are talking that maybe John Wick and the Nobody character end up in the same movie at some point is a possibility as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see, and not in like a Marvel Universe way, but more of like just a weird crossover.
They've done a kick-ass job of building out this entire world, and even if John's gone, that whole world is ripe.
Yeah,
for milk, and
they
could go forever with it. So and the idea of a Continental TV show just sounds really cool. So for anybody just listening in, the sacred list stands thus: Infinity Pool, Creed 3, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Megan, Missing, Scream 6, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Magic Mike's Last Dance, Knock at the Cabin Plane, and Cocaine Bear. Is there an initial Nans reacts? Is there an initial thought as to a number?
I was looking at it, and it just kept creeping up the list for me.
Yeah.
And you guys already know how I feel about Infinity Pool.
Yeah.
So
you're at number one. Not surprised.
For thinking one.
Not surprised.
Creed is a hard one to pass. Like
it passes Creed.
You can argue like Creed's cleaner or whatever or something, like, because this is so long and it's just action schlock at the end of the day, but it's just so fun.
Yeah, it's not embarrassing in the story department. It's not like there's nothing to be said about again the theme of consequences. And is it an excuse to have amazing action set pieces at the end of the day? Yes, but it doesn't. There's nothing cheap about these movies. There's nothing, just lowbrow. They're just so again elegant.
They still do innovative stuff too, like that. Yeah, towards the end with the dragon's breath with the overhead cam, like that was awesome,
amazing. So so for anybody who hasn't seen it, if you're still watching this and you haven't seen this movie, you're nuts. But they have this incredible sequence that is more or less just a couple of takes, but and this is them switching it up, right? We've been doing the same kind of action stuff. So how about we have a whole scene of going through like a major apartment complex or something, and the camera is just doing that God's eye floaty cam as John Wick's going through with dragon's breath, which is essentially incendiary rounds out of a shotgun, right?
Yeah,
and just destroying.
When it's overhead view, it reminds. There's video games that look just like that.
That was part of the
thought process. I'm sure
it was the thought process was video, and I don't know if it was like Resident Evil or if any one specific game, but definitely does.
When they do the initial crane, though, there's like a guy up the staircase from him. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, but it reminds me. It also reminded me of there's a scene in Minority Report that also does something similar, but it's not used in an action scene like this. It was like, you remember that scene where they it does the God's eye. We see an entire apartment complex, and like we even see like two people fucking, and then like these little spider cams come through, and they stop what they're doing just so they get their eye scanned, and then they continue what they're doing. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
So it reminded me of that. It reminded me a little bit of that scene as well. But Charlie, my initial, I wrote it down. I was like, I think this will probably land either above. Shazam. No, I was going to say it was going to land probably either below or above Creed 3. And so I think, and then my other thing was this movie, if I actually do have to think about it and nail it down a peg, at least to say it's you're right. The story doesn't do anything embarrassing. I think it doesn't have to get into the weeds of anything overly convoluted, so it makes it really light on the story. So in that regards, it's the story was good, but we didn't try to write a really complicated paper to begin with. We made it simple because that wasn't the thing that was going to get people to go see this movie. It was all of the stunt choreography and action set pieces that this movie excels at. So in that regards, it's it's a really good spectacle movie, but as far as like a think piece or a movie that you're going to sit down and maybe actually mull over again and again, it's not. And also when you watch this compared to all of the other movies, these movies do run into each other. I had to, binge all three movies prior to watching this movie. Again, so I was
chapters. They're called chapters because
for a reason.
Just one continuous plot.
It is a continuous
beginning to end.
So I'm not, and I'm not saying it's completely again, I would agree. I would say it's above Creed 3. I'm not complaining about like where it ranks. I'm not saying this is a garbage movie. I'm just saying that like if you think about it, it is like it's not. I don't know. It's not like the best movie I've ever seen. Like, but it is a really great spectacle, and I really enjoyed seeing it in theaters. And I was like, I'm glad I saw it. In Dolby Cinemas. Go see movies in Dolby Cinemas if you haven't. I don't care. Like, go see them. It's amazing.
It was awesome. Every gunshot, my butt rumbled.
Him punching the first shot of the movie is him punching, like, I don't know what he's punching. He's punching something, and his fists are bleeding.
Like a rope.
Every single punch is like the loudest sound you've ever heard. That all aside, I'm just saying, like, this movie is very heavy on spectacle, very light on story. So, and I think in that regards, I think that's why Infinity Pool tops it for me. It's like Infinity Pool is really taking note on every little aspect of the film and really like gauging with you on really great acting, really great storytelling, really making you think after you see the movie. This movie doesn't do that. It's just like sit your butt down, enjoy all this crazy, awesome action, but it does everything so freaking well that you can't complain. You're just like, that was amazing.
It has, it's all about that, just that incredible execution. Again, I can't get away from the word elegant. I don't know if I've ever associated the word elegant with an action series before. What other action movies can you say are gorgeous and elegant, right? I mean, even just simple scenes like they're in the Louvre and Winston's walking around, he's negotiating terms for the duel that they're going to have. The whole thing is that the kind of loophole that John's looking to take advantage of is he can challenge the Marquis to a duel, and he needs representation from a family, so he ends up going back to Berlin to get back in with his adopted family, and that's so that's the whole thing, right? The whole thing is John needs X. In order to get that, he's got to go kill somebody, and then he achieves that, and then he has to then go kill another person to make something happen or whatever. But it's never done in a way that just feels formulaic or just like
it's always
a fetch quest from a video game. It's all enjoyable, and there
is one fetch quest moment in the movie, but I think it's just like it's another.
You better
it's
not
another
say
conflict, another piece
German
of the puzzle.
Bar scene with the fat guy.
Yeah, that's like awesome. The one thing that stands out as far as fetch quest aspects of the movie, and that's another reason why I feel like
I like that.
This movie could have been broken up into two parts. Like that could have been the lead up for the end of the fourth one, and then the next one it's like him actually getting to the duel.
A dude in a fat suit doing like a reverse spin kick. That was
so cool.
So I didn't mention it. I did not mention it. There's this guy's named Scott Atkins. I guess he's a professional. He's just in a bunch of movies. He's usually a stunt guy. Yeah, he can mention him. He's a famous action movie guy, so he's in a bunch of stuff. But
it was a good fat suit. But then when he was throwing the kicks, I was like, that might be a fat suit. Not. I want
that guy. I want that guy to fight Colin Farrell's The Penguin, and I want that a movie. I want that to be a movie.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
But they are. Okay, wait. Nico says he ranks them 1, 4, 2, 3. I walked out. I saw this with Scott, and I think Scott he said the same thing. Pretty sure he said 1, 4, 2, 3, and I think that's a fair.
That's where I was
rank.
too.
Yeah, that's a fair rank. It's hard. It's always going to be hard to top.
Definitely three last.
Real quick, let's go through them. Let's go through them real quick. So the first movie is you're just dropped into the life of this guy. You don't know who he is, and he famously loses his car and his dog to a couple of Russian punks, that are in the Russian mafia. Kill his dog, steal his car, and then what's so great about one is again, speaking of world building, is that there's all these moments where somebody will be saying, "What the hell? Why is this happening? What is the significance of XYZ?" And someone goes, "John fucking Wick," and every time they go,
They killed
and
John Wick's dog.
The moment of car. And at first
John
you're like, okay, well, who's this John Wick? And why should I care? And when it first sets it off, it's when the first group of assassins come to John's house, and the first thing you ever see him do action-wise is empty a clip, and every single shot is a headshot. He just clears out all. It's like they send dozens of guys, and he just wipes out half of them in 6 seconds or less, right? And so that's where it's, oh, okay, this turns out this is the most dangerous man in the world, and then you're hooked, right? And then it's a revenge movie, and we all want to see his puppy avenged, right? And that's what fuels the whole thing. And then the second one is a natural progression, because once he came out of retirement and able to get that revenge, somebody who had his marker, which is an agreement that you make, somebody gives you a marker, they do a favor for you, and then you owe them. It's a blood oath. And so this guy D'Antonio has a marker on John, and it's like, you came out of retirement, you did this, and now that you came out of retirement, you need to fulfill the oath of your marker. He has him go kill his sister, who has a seat at the high table, because he wants her seat. Then once John kills her, he sets out to kill John, because, for optics' sake, he has to avenge the death of his sister, even though he's the one who ordered it. So John kills him at the end of the second movie. That sparks off the third movie, which is that because he killed somebody that was not just a member of the high table, but he did it on Continental Hotel grounds, which is like a sacred area where you're not allowed to spill blood or, perform any work.
Even on the step, business. Like you touch the step.
Yeah. So, so then the manager, Winston, he ends up getting in trouble because he aided John in escaping. He should have killed him.
Gave him an hour.
Just like we saw. Yeah, gave him an hour.
Starting the excommunicado.
Yeah, instead of executing him. Because we saw in the first movie, remember Perkins. Remember, he executed Perkins because she broke the rules and was working on Continental grounds. So there's just this natural progression, right? The third one ends with the protecting the New York Continental. Obviously, like a big powerhouse within this whole world is the New York Continental. And John protects it, but then Winston betrays him, leaves John for dead, shooting him off the building, blah, blah, blah. And then it ends with the Bowery King basically saying, like, we gonna get these motherfuckers, right? So and that's why for me, my whole thing was, I expected this movie to be unmasking the high table and really dealing with all, just like he killed the elder. I expected him to threaten all of the high table. Instead, we just got this one guy, the Marquis. We just got one arbitrary member of the high table, and all of this ire goes into him. And because okay, these are based on comic books, are they not? These are comic book movies.
No.
Wasn't John Wick a graphic novel?
No.
Why do I think that?
I don't know, but John Wick, yeah, like I told you in the beginning, John Wick is this whole thing was based off of a script called Scorn. Like he just wrote a spec script or and he sold the script to Thunder Road, and it was called Scorn. And then they changed the title to John Wick because that was the name of the character, who he based off of he named it after his granddad.
Okay, because maybe way back, I remember when I first found somebody at work gave me a copy of the movie, and I remember him telling me that it was a graphic novel, and I never looked into it. But I just assumed based off the way it looks, could say this based off the world building, I was like, this has to have been you can see it as a graphic novel.
I can see why you would say graphic novel, but I think more so it reminds me of a lot of old. I mean, if anything about like Keanu Reeves and these guys, they're all fans of old Japanese Akira Kurosawa films and things like that, and it really does have that samurai movie type of feel to it, especially with the world, all the different types of characters. They're all assassins.
That Wanted.
Yeah, Wanted is
similar,
based off. Wanted is based off a comic book, but but as far as this series goes, there's definitely I think it's just much more of a richer attachment to those types of action.
The fact that this isn't right, like I maybe I just always assumed from the get go, and again never looked into it. If seems like I'm totally wrong. This is just completely original. Then props to them. This being an original story that isn't based on any kind of comic book or otherwise, or video game or whatever. I mean, this is a video game movie, right? Like all the bad guys come at John one at a time, right? It's just like playing a first person shooter. Like he'll be in a museum or something, and instead of 50 guys rushing in, it's a slow trickle of bad guys, and
I started to feel that.
Game.
I started to feel that when we were in Osaka. I was like, this is starting to feel a lot more like the other movies do feel that. But as I was sitting in the theater, I was like, this is a video game. Like I'm watching someone play a video game right now, and he's doing great.
And obviously, there's still tons of guns, but they also mix in a lot of other stuff in this one too.
I like
the other ones don't have it, but
I think the nunchucks were one of my favorite wet use of weapons in the movie. Like I really like that.
Went on a good long time too.
And he puts it around his neck, and he's got his knife and his gun, and then he's like, all right, I'll take this off and just knock
clearly
the crap out of
he
people.
spent so much time mastering that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's
what you gotta hope. Like in future John Wicks, whoever the actor is, I hope they put in as much as Keanu.
Yeah, Keanu cares. But so right here, Infinity Pool. Nico says Infinity Pool more interesting plot wise, more depth, good performances. What it comes down to is with where are we at with this list is that the movies that are complete, right? They don't like Megan. Again, Megan just kind of falls apart in the third act, not in like a terrible way, but to the point that Shazam is a little more complete, that Creed is a little more complete. Infinity Pool has meaning, and for me, spectacle has value, and these movies have again they have themes. That doesn't mean that they have very deep meaning, but again, I appreciate the constant theme of rules, choices, and consequences. But that doesn't mean that they're super deep. These movies are spectacle, no fucking doubt. Yeah. And so for me, between spectacle and meaning, I'm always going to lean towards meaning, right? Something that has some substance. Rather than just being a good time or whatever, right? I mean, I've consistently been that way, even with Bond, where I'll be like, like Thunderball, famously. Thunderball is mostly spectacle with kind of a piss poor story, and that's why Thunderball's always been this threshold of above it are the more like clean cut, meaningful Bond movies as far as that goes, and then below it are just the like have a good time, Diamonds Are Forever-esque episodes. So for me, Infinity Pool is going to be difficult to beat until that next movie comes along. Like I've said before, I'm like, if suddenly Saving Private Ryan came about, I'd be like, okay, Saving Private Ryan is going to be at the top because duh, the next American movie classic that comes out could easily top this list. But John Wick is just a kick-ass action movie with that doesn't have that much meaning, and it doesn't pretend to, right? It doesn't.
Mm-hmm. It knows what it is.
It knows what it is.
There's a lot of humor in it still.
Yeah. So then Creed has some meaning, but I still just think of it being, it is complete. It is, inspirational. It doesn't undermine its own essence, but it's not. It has some weaknesses, and I don't think this movie has any weaknesses. There's nothing that's.
I came in and I was like, I don't have a lot. Honestly, other movies we have a lot more to talk about. This one, I'm like, I just left the theater. I'm like, that was perfect.
That's great.
I didn't really have anything bad to say about it. The only thing I had bad to say about it is just what we kind of already talked about. It's like
two movies.
This movie is so heavy on spectacle. It's so light on story, but it does such spectacle so well, and the story is so much it's not C passing. It's literally it's a B, it's a solid B story. It does everything it needs to do. It doesn't excel,
I think it earns top 3, and of this whole list, it is the one I would want to rewatch again most.
Yeah. But you guys are missing the one thing that could have made this movie better, which is we needed
Baskin
more
Robbins?
Klaus. No, we needed more Klaus.
Oh, okay.
I am Klaus. I mean, that was a straight up Pokemon moment where Klaus is only able to say his name. You know?
What was that?
Right? And that's what I mean. Like that type of stuff is where I go, this must be based off a graphic novel. And again, apparently I'm dead wrong. But having this weird character who only has a couple of seconds of screen time,
a bit of lisp,
but he feels as if he's part of this larger world that I know nothing about. That could only have been built up over time in a series of graphic novels. And so I'm just kind of shocked that it's not, that this isn't based off any kind of pre-sold property, that this is completely fresh. Makes me love it even more.
I think it's fresh in the Tarantino style of fresh. Like it's a remix of all these other things. Because you and I just talked about Lawrence of Arabia. We were talking about the Warriors. There's definitely shades of other samurai films and other action movies thrown in here in the mix. But it does everything so very cohesive and very well. I also like how every set piece is so they make everything very unique. Whether he's fighting in Germany in that nightclub, which is really cool. The Osaka hotel was really different and interesting as far as how that was filmed. The Paris step sequence, that was like one of the standout moments for me, because I mean, it was like
dude,
natural progression
of just going all the way up city before even that.
The steps is one thing.
The
steps is one thing, but the roundabout was insane. I mean, the logistics behind something like that, and that's where, for me, not knowing anything about Chad Stahelski, not knowing anything about him, and him being just Keanu's stunt double, and then suddenly becoming this director where he obviously is an action heavy director, but he can also perform otherwise. He can also outside of the action, outside of the second unit filming, he's a solid director. I look forward to what this guy will be doing in the future. Are these his first movies?
Yeah, these are the only movies he's directed. He's only directed these films, and that's it.
And I mean, they had to have taken a chance on him, right? Like
he also did some second unit on the Birds of Prey DC movie as well. Like, but it's like he's either doing second unit directing or he's doing something like this.
Okay, but like props, I didn't know anything about. Obviously you see him in the credits at the end of every movie, and I never looked into him, but knowing that about him now, I'm like, that's cool. The filmmakers took a chance on. I gotta wonder, did Keanu vouch for him, or like did they have a relationship? And but it's just.
Nico brings this up. Nico brought this up. Notice the Harbinger has one finger on his hand, or missing a finger.
Yeah.
Also, like John, proving his loyalty at some point for some reason.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really cool world building when you already know the.
I mean, that's like a Yakuza
from the previous
thing.
Movie.
I think it's more for punishment with Yakuza.
Oh yeah, no. Speaking of that, remember when the Mr. Nobody had to he's like, okay, there's two types of men in this world: people who pull the knife out or pull their hand through the knife.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh God. Oh.
Yeah, and then you would just be out.
I'd be like,
okay, guys, I'm gonna go lay on the couch for a few months while my hand heals.
Speaking of Nobody, he has this notebook, right? And at the beginning of his character introduction, I guess, we see his end goal in the book, but I don't recall it, and they don't really bring it back up. He's trying to get a certain amount of money for something, right? Isn't there
he initially
a picture of his
passed
dog
on
in a house or something?
He didn't kill John because it was $18 million, and he was like, "That's not enough money yet. I'm gonna wait until it grows." And then but he said in the notebook it said 50 million. Right, so it was hinting at the idea that he's hard up.
But he needed that amount of money for
I guarantee
something.
you, they're
right?
gonna
we don't.
Chapter 5 is going to be Mr. Nobody, the tractor.
That guy was cool.
Or
I'd be
something.
fine with that.
Yeah,
him
they
and
left this movie
the
in a way
girl.
where it was they left this movie in a way where it's like the John Wick story is over, but the story of these characters are not, and they could continue. He could end up being the main character in the Continental. We have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could still continue this one specific character,
which is great. Let John go. Let John rest.
John Wick
He's
character's been gone.
literally in a grave. He tells the Bowery King, he says he tells Winston and the Bowery King. He says, I want my headstone to read loving husband. That is perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
What sparked all of this was the death of his wife, again, consequences. It all goes back to that moment when in the first movie, when he's sitting there, he pulled into the wrong gas station, and that caused all of this shit, right? All the consequence of filling up his precious car with gas led to all 4 of these movies. And that's what's so fun is just the if you dip so much as a pinky in this pond, it'll keep you, or whatever the line is. Yeah. And that's and then from there, that's what just enables the excuses to have these action set pieces that are just have perfect execution, right? And they're just brutal. They just the amount of times that a gun goes to a guy's head and they're like, just the brutal headshots. Everything is just so goddamn brutal, and it's just
brutal, awesome action. But you also, I forget if you said just like classy. We get really good themes tied in of consequences, and I imagine. Yeah. So I had mentioned in the Discord. Join the Discord if you're not in it.
Join it. All we do all day is talk shit.
Donnie Yen's character's name is Cain, and someone said, "Oh, it's because he had a cane." But I'm thinking it's more like Cain and Abel, which is a story about consequences, right?
Well, and what does he say at the end after he slays John? He calls him his brother.
Yeah.
So it's all of those things at once. It's Cain because he has a cane, but then it's Cain and Abel as well. It reads like a graphic novel. It all reads as though all this stuff has existed for a long time, and I never knew anything about it. But what's up, Junior?
Nearly as beautiful as Cocaine Bear.
Take on violence.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I gave Cocaine Bear a bad rap. Maybe it is secretly brilliant.
It is.
And not a complete farcical piece of shit.
It should be number 1 on this list. How dare we?
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Remember somebody, I probably already mentioned this before, but somebody was like, that's based on a true story, right?
And we're like,
the true story where a bear found some cocaine, ate it, and died. And then they took that, and then they made this embarrassing, weird wannabe Jaws movie based on that, where Bear goes on a weird Michael Myers rampage. Get the fuck out of here. No, that's true. They say it's true, so it's true. Everything in the movie was true. No,
that's
you're
not
dumb.
How that works, bro.
You're dumb.
Anyway,
so
again, great movie, but I mean, personal number 1 probably, but
yeah.
Charlie,
wait, real quick. I just want to ask you guys. No. Hold on, before we put the ranking, because I have to ask, because I'm curious. Because when I saw these movies, again, I binged the shit out of them before this movie came out.
Had you seen them before?
I think I'd seen the first one, and I probably started the second or third one, and I remember watching it on TV at some point, but never finished those movies as a whole. So now sitting down, actually watching them, I'm like, oh, okay, this is the whole story. My thing was like, I thought 2 was the weakest, but apparently you guys think 3 is the weakest, and I'm just curious why
3 I think is the weakest just because it is it's so relentless. It really
because it has Halle Berry. That makes sense.
Good.
That makes sense why you would say that. Now.
I have a hard time seeing Halle Berry as badass for obvious reasons, but she's fine. There's one moment I pointed out to Nans where. Remember the guy says, I like this dog. Does it shed much? And she says, occasionally. And I know that's not her fault. That's a scripting and editing thing. But every time I hear that, I'm like, that's why does she have a response?
So really,
she should have just looked at him.
Besides Halle Berry, why is 3 bad for you? I like 3 over 2. That was my feeling after watching it. I was like, I kind of like this more.
When you get to 3 is the first time that you go, okay, wait. Do they not have a lot of story? So that's why 3 is nonstop. It is nonstop action. And that can be a good thing. But you guys know me. I've said repeatedly that action I tend to start daydreaming during action scenes. And I don't, I have to counterintuitively, I have to focus on action scenes, whereas dramatic scenes, I don't. I'm naturally plugged into them. But with action scenes, I'm like, what should I make for dinner? No, I had bacon and eggs last night. You know what I mean? Like my mind starts to wander because it's a lot of repetition in the same thing. And so the third movie is, again, a natural progression to the point, a natural escalation to where, okay, now the entire fucking world is against John, right? It just keep pushing the envelope and escalating. So it's not a bad thing, but it really is just constant action with hardly any breaks. And that's why the third one is and then the third one also just has the weird element of going to see the elder, which is, how do you find the elder? You go to the desert and you just walk until you collapse.
And
it's like
where
it
is
starts
he
to
in
get weird.
relation to the table?
Yeah, and it's it starts to get a little more vague and all that. Whereas the second one is
4 ran
really
a big risk of being
with,
like 3, but luckily there's a lot of characters.
The thing is, I'm asking because I don't have a huge emotional attachment to this movies, because obviously I just sped through watching all of them and I'm like, these are awesome, but like I'm not like, oh, these are awesome like how I feel about the Bond films. So I'm just curious, like, the reasoning behind the ranking. And I can kind of see what you're talking
here's
about.
Johnny doing his usual thing where he says something very smart.
And he eats food while he does it.
Yeah, basically he's just contrast.
He's eating a bowl. He's eating a bowl of spaghetti.
He's eating right.
He's
multitasking right now. Yeah,
totally eating.
He's slurping them noodles.
He's slurping noodles right now.
But yeah, I mean, he makes a good point. Eats food and breathes loudly from his mouth.
He's totally doing both of those things. We know this.
Anyway,
okay, that's a good explanation why 3. Now I understand where you're coming from. Like, I get that. I thought maybe it had something to do with like the villain, or sorry, he's not like the main villain, but like the main opponent guy who's like a super fan. I kind of like that character, but I can see how he's a little comedic for these films.
But he's great. I mean,
I like him. Like, I thought that part was great.
Well, Nance pointed out that apparently, I didn't know, he's the Iron Chef guy who famously announces the secret ingredient with incredible
is that
flair.
Who that is?
Where he's like, and they like thing lifts up and it's all beer, or it's like, or it's shrimp, or it's peanut butter, whatever it may be. And I had no idea who he was, but the guy is a hoot. He's a hoot.
I like him.
He's enjoyable.
Great.
So
Donnie Yen's better though.
Donnie Yen is
Donnie's
classic.
Yeah, so as far as that ranking goes, I could see 1 being.
Man.
I think 1 has the most story to it. 4 is next. Then I could see where you're like. My thing with 2 was just like, I thought it was very strange that all of a sudden he's like, now I'm gonna have everybody kill John Wick, and I was like, wait, what? Because he hung up on you? Is like that? Are you that insecure? Like in the
first one,
something, or the second one? The second one. Did I miss something? Like, he did your deed, and now you're wanting everybody to kill John Wick. I was confused.
No. He said something along the lines of, "Hey, John, I have to avenge my. What kind of a man would I be? What kind of a brother would I be if I didn't avenge my sister's death?"
Oh, and then he's an asshole.
He's saying, even though I ordered you to kill my sister, now I'm going to order your death. So when John kills him at the end, what he's weighing in his mind is, okay, if I don't kill this guy, because remember, he says I could live at the Continental for years if I wanted to. And so John, go ahead. He just executes him because John's kind of fucked either way, and he knows it. So he could either kill the guy now and call off his dogs and deal with the high tables dogs, or he could let him live and just constantly be pursued from him. By him and his assassins. So knowing he was
much more sense now.
He naturally had to escalate the plot, right? He had to kill this devil right in front of him, knowing that there were more devils behind him. But it was just like
John probably would have had an easier time dealing with D'Antonio's henchmen versus table people, though, right?
He would have. He was fucked either way. He's going to have assassins up his ass all day, every day,
but
either
that's
way.
What these movies are.
But
just
at the end of the day, he got to execute D'Antonio right there. on the
Yeah.
spot, and then deal with
I hated
the
that guy.
fallout.
D'Antonio's bipolar or something.
I hated that guy.
Mhm.
What an ass.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
okay,
like-
so the ranking.
Like,
the ranking.
number 1 has to be 1. 3 has to be last. 2 and 4, I think you could,
I think
they're
4 is
both
better
good.
than
I
2.
think 4 is
4
more
is
fun.
definitely
Well,
better
and
than 2.
then how are you talking about the story, or are you talking the action?
Because it's all one story.
Because they all escalate, right? The action wise, it all escalates.
Execution, then.
But
Execution
the meaning
of a
the
movie.
first one. Yeah, they're like, okay, we're gonna have this set piece. We're gonna have the dragon's breath set piece. We're gonna have all these set pieces, as opposed to, we're gonna have a set piece where John is riding a horse against a bunch of motorcycles. Just cool shit.
Crazy
As opposed
shit.
to one will always resonate with everybody because that's the one with the most meaning. The most.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who you think is a nobody, and he turns out to be the most dangerous man on the planet. And discovering his history. Again, there's nothing better than the joke that they do repeatedly, which is, who gives a shit? Yeah, but it's John Wick. Oh. And every time somebody says, oh, it is so enjoyable. And it's and the only thing on par with that is the constant joke of a fucking pencil.
A fucking
like
pencil.
Those two jokes are so fantastic. That one can never be topped, but you can top it with action, right? You can just keep pushing that action button. So it to your point, McCurdy, it is hard to rank the movies in general, though, because they really are just a continuation.
It's the same as the Lord of the Rings. Like it's like they're all one
you
giant
took
story.
the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say it's
I knew
like
you were
trying to
gonna say
rank
it.
Lord of the Rings, and you go, why would you rank? They're all one story. This is just one story. There will be fan edits that are it'll just be called John Wick, and it's the 4 movies cut into a 5-hour epic. And
I heard there's this guy named
difficult.
I heard there's this guy named Movie Hacker or something like that. He's gonna.
Yeah, he's right.
probably gonna.
He's right. He's right there.
He's probably gonna make.
right there behind
He's
me.
probably gonna make this.
I do it.
Nico,
I do it.
Nico is at. Okay, so wait. Let's go back here. Can we go back here? Why isn't this? There we go. So what is it, guys?
You mentioned John Wick.
I'm good with 2.
I'm good with 2 as well.
I mean, does anybody want to stand up for Creed? Because Creed just has some flaws. This movie doesn't really have any flaws. To speak of.
3. I think that, again, the thing that we talked about at 3 is like leading up from the middle to the end of the movie. I felt like we could have had a little bit more that would have put some more teeth on Dame's character. Yeah, the Dame character on Jonathan Major's character. But
we're spending
other than that,
time with the daughter, where they should be building up the beef between Dame and Creed.
I think killing off his mom, his adopted mom. I think that didn't need to be in this movie, and I thought it could have been handled a different way, and it worked better for the story. That there's that too. So I agree. I think John Wick 4 is the second best movie this year.
Yeah, I will continue to stand up for Infinity Pool until something else comes along that has supreme meaning, right?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
It might be.
Megan might be the only other movie on this list that had any kind of meaning to it. And I'm looking over it now, and yes. Megan had flaws in its execution, but Megan was heavy on the themes and had positive messaging that I appreciate. Again,
but their family
the very clear and
so,
present
their love was not so pure, Charlie.
But the very clear and present danger of I mean, how often today are we hearing about TikTok and how it's poisoning the youth, right? I mean, it is a piece of technology that is poisoning the youth. It is, and how is it doing it? It is presenting stories to people via their smartphones that are undermining their own culture and turning them against themselves. I'll just put it that way. So Megan is great, but becomes kind of action schlock, weird robot movie by the end. Shazam, just fun fun,
Family, man.
funny
It's about
movie.
family.
One of us worked on it, so it has to be high. I get it.
Yeah, for political purposes, we had to put that high, even though
No.
we all secretly hated
No.
it. No, but just like a fun movie. That's one of those where I go, I see the flaws, but I love it. I love it.
And I was agreeing with you. I thought it was like where it stood, that made sense to me. I was like,
Yeah.
but I'd even said like I wasn't sure going into that one. I was like, it could have been between Missing and Scream 6 too for me, but
yeah.
You were like, no, it's better than Megan and Missing. I was like, all right. Well,
because it's more complete. Because it doesn't have a third act where you go, that's just kind of random.
It all made
all
sense.
That. Megan and Missing just have third acts that
I watched the
help them
episode today actually of Shazam on my way to work, and the only thing I remember you saying was it was weird that the adoptive dad was like in the background during the touching moment, but it was more of a thing with her and Billy, like that he wasn't calling her mom, and then he does. So I get it, but also you could have had the dad standing there with her, like, oh, he did it.
Yeah, he has mommy issues more than daddy issues. So yes, it was my thought there was that it was important that it was her, but at the same time, he's just standing there in the background and is like, they're
he's a chill guy,
Yeah. So but then so then moving up, Creed 3, like we said, it's
just talked about
it's just not perfect. Creed 1, perfect. Creed 3, not exactly perfect.
It's still a really good movie, and I think you should go see it in theater.
Yes. And then John Wick Chapter 4 here is just a fucking powerhouse.
It's a dog biter. It's a dog biting
Skarsgård to Bill. Like whatever.
It's a balls biting movie.
Yeah, what does that mean? You keep saying that's a dick biter. Does that just mean hardcore?
Dog. He keeps it.
The dog keeps biting everybody in the dick.
Okay.
Like you didn't get that one.
I just looking for some clarification, homeboy.
Catch up,
whenever he sees a dog on screen, he'd go dog, and that he doesn't actually see what's happening.
Yeah.
Dog. Catch up.
When I see a dog, yeah, dog. Ooh, and then when a dog gets curb stomped in front of me, I cry.
Also, I want a special
murder
backpack.
Everybody.
I want a special backpack that like flips over.
Yeah.
I want to know how to get hit by a car and be fine.
What was the
or fall off a building?
Well,
first off, let's do it. You guys good with this?
Yes.
You good with
Put
this?
It in there. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll give you 20 minutes to change all the numbers while we continue talking.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I'm doing this for now, and then there'll be a day
when we get to that one day when it's like, all right, just stick it in there.
Even Word can do this.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Like I do this on Google when I'm writing all of my behind the scenes stuff, and it already adjusts the numbers. So I don't.
Stupid Apple.
Hey, you know what? I bet there's I bet on stickies. I bet I could. I just haven't looked into it. I'll do it right now. There's got to be changing it to be
just delete this list. Let's end this series.
Let's quit while we're ahead. Just like John Wick. John Wick died.
The best
now
movies,
we're all gonna
January to March.
We'll just slump over.
Yeah.
So Dungeons and Dragons is coming up, right?
Yes.
I watched trailers, unlike Charlie. There's so many coming out on April 14th, I want to say.
Yeah.
April seems like a heavy month.
Well, yeah, because like again, we're getting out of that winter movie season. Like historically, winter is not winter, more like the early spring season. It's like it used to just kind of be a dead season. Like there wasn't a lot because they didn't want to put their best movie. Well, yeah, exactly. January is that when I say dead, as far as like what was coming out, it's like these weren't really bad movies, but they weren't like they're not their best movies that they're going to hold on to that everyone wants to go see, that they're going to hold on to summer or in the early, in the winter, November through December when people are around for the holidays. So it's kind of like this mediocre month, and it's after the Oscars, so they don't want to put it. They don't want to put those movies that they want to get awards in the spring. They usually want to put them sometime in the fall. So it's a weird
have short memory.
So between like February, March, and then April. But more recently, I think they've started putting more and more heavier action films in this month because they realize people, and not just action movies, blockbusters, bigger movies, because they feel like people are going to go see it. Yeah.
Oh, let's go get some popcorn.
That's the silliest shit I've ever heard.
Did we cover this though?
Yeah.
The adjudicator just probably wasn't
He just walked
available
away.
for COVID reasons or something. I mean, I just assumed COVID kind of messed with the schedule. Idea. They couldn't even get the elder back.
I have no idea. They could have,
I mean, she's more or less a Bill Skarsgård.
But like,
guy,
honestly,
right?
like, would you have that character? Or would you rather have Clancy Brown? I think Clancy Brown probably puts more butts in the seats. They probably were like, we're gonna bring this guy into the fold. So I don't know.
He put more. What'd you say? More gaps in teeths.
More butts in the seats.
That's goofy. Okay, what was the funniest moment of the movie for you fellas?
When Donnie Yen tells Bill Skarsgård, like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Get the fuck away from me or something. I forget what he says.
Because I had to, again, I'm sitting there with Scoot, and we had some laughs. I think by far, I mean, obviously, the Matt Damon moment with Klaus.
Oh,
I am Klaus. Poof. You know, like that was just, you know, that's our sense of humor.
God.
That is our brand of humor, is a guy who can only say his name is always going to be funny to us. But then there's, of course, at the end when Mr. Nobody was like, that's good. That's good. You know, that's always fun. But I mean, did you guys catch okay.
John Wick should have had a will. He should have written up a will right at the end and said, just give all my stuff to nobody. He wants money.
Yeah, who got the dog? Who got the dog? Hopefully, Mr. Nobody.
It seems
got
like
the
Clancy had him, but
did he?
Just say, "Hey, no."
I thought Winston had the dog.
John doesn't.
No, I thought the Bowery King or
right?
Winston
he never
had the
rebuilt
dog.
it.
Okay, I don't
but
know.
Surely John has gold, like whatever these coins everywhere. Just give them all to nobody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, wait. What were we saying?
Funniest scenes.
Oh no. Okay,
moments?
so the crap. I have too much. Wild Turkey 101 is who's sponsoring us tonight. The Kubrick movie about dueling. Oh God, it's the name of the character.
I'm
like one of my favorite movies.
Too.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Why am I blanking on it?
Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon.
So obviously at the end, you know, Barry Lyndon, a heavy element of dueling, right? Of pistols dueling. So I don't think there were any direct references. So, you know, set that aside. But when that final shot went off, it was very clear to me. Did you guys pick up on how John hadn't shot? Like right away, I was like, John didn't shoot.
Yeah.
Which means he still can. And, you know,
I don't know the dueling rules, but I knew he hadn't shot.
He could have stood up and shot Donnie Yen. And so I think his plan was to play to the Marquis being a little foolhardy.
I was almost expecting both of them to shoot.
To break the rules and to shoot the Harbinger. And I think that would have been, that probably would have been kind of obvious or maybe lame, because again, everything's about rules, right? And he didn't break the rules. It was clean cut, because had they done that, then their problems wouldn't have gone away. The high table still would have kept hunting them, but because they finished the duel honorably, all of their debts were settled and all of their requests were fulfilled. So that was, you know, there was that I had the same thought of like would they do that? Would that be weird if they suddenly, you know, because obviously they're standing there with guns, they can do whatever they want, but they could just turn to shoot anybody. But they would have been killing themselves had they done that. But then that's why I was in denial at first that John was going to die, because we've seen him get beat the fuck up before and always pull through. He just has to drink a little bourbon and he's fine, you know.
Get a little sewing kit, some Blantons.
Yeah, Blantons. Where is Blantons?
It's well, you know, Buffalo Trace. It's just fancy Buffalo Trace.
It is. Okay. Love me some Buffalo. Nobody ever sponsors us. Why can't we have a booze sponsor? Why can't we get on that?
I should start an LLC so I can write all this booze off.
Yeah, right.
But I don't make any money, so what am I writing off? I don't know how taxes work.
Yeah, nobody knows that stuff. Okay,
Anyway,
so any other notes, fellas? Anybody have anything more to say?
I want to know
about
McCurdy's
John Wick
biggest laugh.
Chapter 4?
I don't remember. I don't
Okay,
remember.
what's the
I laughed out loud
standout scene
several
for you
times.
then? Not even
Like, again,
not funny necessarily.
Hey, John, are you dead? You know, like
That was
I
funny.
like there are certain things where
I
I'm
love
that
the
guy
end. I love the
laughing
end
too
with
much.
the. I love that ending sequence. I love the ends where he the whole like he's still got a bullet in an asshole or you arrogant asshole or whatever, and he
I want the
shoots
coup de
him. I
grace.
love that.
I'm good. Keep
Uh-oh.
going. Keep going.
What else did I love? I loved. Dude, it's just there was so much of this movie. Like, I think if again, my other big complaint was maybe it was just a really damn long movie. I kind of wish it was 2 parts. Just savor it.
There was never a point where I was like, "This is long," but it is long.
It's a long movie, and after a while, like I forgot of other sequences and things that happened because I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." Like I'm thinking, I'm like sitting in the movie, I'm like, "Oh yeah, we have this whole fight scene in a roundabout." I was like, wait, there was that whole fight in Osaka. There was there's all these different little fights.
Yeah.
Different spot. The nightclub fight was cool.
Yeah.
I actually, here's the other thing I did like. We didn't even mention this. I liked the element of games that was used in gambling in this movie, particularly like they're playing cards or playing poker. And it's
That's
like
the only one I can think of. Are there others?
There is. So when they're listing out and they're saying they're basically playing a game of war when he's like, "Hey, I want to create the terms for the duel at the end of the movie." And so they all say the first one says, "Oh, it's going to be at this location," and he flips the card over.
Yeah.
And the other one says, "No, I want it here," and he flips the card over, and
that
the winning
cool.
hand gets that person. I like that. I thought that was like kind of neat little world building piece of the movie.
Is that a unique thing? Because I haven't seen
that in any other movie. The other thing Charlie and I were talking about other movies and how this film references other films. I thought about The Good, Bad, the Ugly at one point in this movie because you have 3 major players in the film and they all kind of want similar things. Like they all want they all have their own goals that are attached to the table, right? John Wick just wants out. Donnie Yen, daughter's safe, and nobody wants this money that we're not quite sure why he wants it. He's kind of like the wild card of the bunch, but there's definitely like this good, bad, the ugly.
Tuco is just looking for money.
Yeah. There's kind of this good, bad, the ugly scenario, and I would say John Wick's actually the bad in this scenario. I wouldn't say he's the good. I think Donnie Yen's the good, he's the bad, and nobody is like the Tuco character of this little trio of assassins. Also, the other thing was Donnie Yen when he fights in Osaka. You notice that like when he fights all of the other dudes' men, he doesn't like brutally kill them. Did you notice that? Because I was like, wonder if that was a subtle hint to the audience that like he's not quite a bad guy. Like he's after John Wick,
but stab everyone a bunch of times at the end.
No. Like when he's fighting, but it's specifically when he's fighting the hotel men, he doesn't really like murder them. But he does with the high tower men. I think doesn't he fight some of the high tower? Like when he's fighting the high table men, like he actually kind of more brutally kills them. It was something subtle about that sequence that I was like, that's like a subtle hint to me that they are still kind of the same team. But he's like, I'm not gonna like go full on because like we are sort of still friends, but I have to do this because I have my own goals and needs.
Eating ramen too, right?
Yeah, that's great.
It's just like you guys do the dirty work, and I'll come in when I'm ready.
Yeah, but
and
Charlie,
like okay. So a big question there though was that had it just been that he was blind from birth, that would have been fine by me. But they mentioned at some point that he willingly took his own eyes for the sake of the high table, right? There was a line about that.
I believe
like
so.
he gave his eyes.
I think it was similar to what happened to Nobody, but maybe he elected eyes. I don't know why you would, but
yeah.
Like you have to wonder what what choice did they give him? But And again, just all of that. Again, choices and consequences and rules. And if we don't have rules, we live with the animals. Like, and everybody's aware of the rules. The world building is just off the chart.
That. Yeah, I do like that. There's like basically three people, kind of all in cahoots with each other against the table, or sort of like either teamed up with the table or whatever. It's not just a simple like John Wick versus the table. Like, we have some other players that have their own motives, their own goals that they are trying to accomplish. And I like that little dichotomy of the whole thing, where it's like, that's a little more interesting than just him fighting off the table.
Would it have been too many characters if the concierge survived throughout? Lance Reddick,
but
that's one of those things where somebody
Lance
needs
Reddick's
to die
character doesn't do. Yeah, I thought his death was.
But like
needed.
Is it in 3 where he really like arms
Charlie,
up and defends the Continental with
he does,
John?
But
like,
Charlie, I didn't mention this.
I would have liked to have seen more of that.
Hold on, Charlie. I forgot to mention this because I remember watching this and I was like, I wanted to tell Charlie this so bad after I saw it, and I forgot about it. Like 2.5 hours of the movie. So the scene where the concierge dies.
Yeah.
Did you not catch the subtle Bond Blofeld reference?
Oh, where it's you're gonna die.
You and I talked
but no,
about
you're
this.
gonna die. Yeah.
So every time we've talked about it, every
Yeah.
time we've done a James Bond, and there's always been a Blofeld murder or kill, right? Like Blofeld kills or Spectre kills have always gone the same route, right? Somebody screwed up. There's 2 people that are involved. Somebody really screwed up.
Yeah.
And the camera and everything is focused on that
There's
one
the
person.
main guy and their underling.
Underling or whatever.
And the underling thinks they're safe because they're like, it was his fault.
Yeah.
He was
it's
in
always
charge.
That. And then the camera's like, you're gonna die. And then they always like, nope, it's actually this person. And they've done it so many times in the Bond films that it's become its own trope. But I noticed it in this movie because it's like he points the gun at Ian McShane, and then it's like he's ready to shoot, and then he kills the concierge, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing that moment. I was like, I gotta mention that when we do the podcast, because
something that was weird was I expected the Continental to straight up be demoed to the point where it would collapse and just be dust. But
just exploded.
It still stood. It was still standing. Wasn't that weird?
It's such an iconic building. You can't
building.
Iconic. Yeah. Hey, it's not underwater, so let's not be calling it that which it is not. Okay.
It isn't underwater.
But it should have collapsed. That didn't make any sense. That it was like doom, 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 and then it was like, what? You just put a grenade in every room, and now every room is just kind of messy. That didn't make any goddamn sense at all.
Messy.
Well, they had to bring it back for the Continental TV show, because they had to clear everything out. So then when they do the TV show,
but part of the terms were they were going to rebuild it, so it should have been demoed. It should have been gone. It should have been dust, and then rebuilt.
It would have been more of a statement too.
Exactly.
Sure.
And instead, and that's what I love. I love how, the Harbinger doesn't just put down a cell phone with a timer. He puts down a fucking hourglass, because the whole thing is that the whole production design is there's this age to everything. Everything is new, but it's also rooted in old stuff. So it's an hourglass, right? Not something digital, but something physical. And once the sand falls out of the hourglass, right on cue, they blow up the Continental. And that's the type of stuff that I love. Or even God, I love yes. You know exactly where my mind is. Love the Suicide Girls, all just these classic 1950s librarian looking babes, but they've got tattoos and piercings, and they're just nasty, naughty bitches. And they're all like running the show behind the scenes and the contracts
all, like,
and all that stuff.
It's
old, looks old, but it's new.
Like the Claremont Lounge in Atlanta.
That's where the production design for these movies is off the fucking charts.
That was another thing
and it screams graphic novel. All that screams graphic novel, to the point where I'm still impressed that it has nothing to do with a graphic novel.
It's not a graphic novel.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's elements from other sources. Again, like I said before, it sources, much like Tarantino does it, and remixes it. It makes it its own thing and its own world, and I think it does a really great job. There was something else I liked. Like, this is more about the third one, but I liked how, the Elder out of all the things, it's like, what is the oldest crime thing that you can think of? It's like, let's go all the way back to like it felt like, let's go back to biblical times, and like these are the people that have been out in the desert, and these are the people that are controlling everything. You know, to that
like Assassin's
that's
Creed.
how far back this reaches.
It is like Assassin's Creed. It's like the age-old assassins of
and that is what's actually running everything. And like I love how like all this stuff, all these tables, all these have all these like old world, you know, different crime lords and all this stuff, but it's all from different parts of the globe, and it's like all like I love all that. That's so cool.
Yeah, and everybody again, the realization in the second and third films where, oh my God, everybody on the planet is serving this seedy underbelly of assassins. You know, the homeless men on the street, they're not just homeless. They are paid spies, right? And just everything serves that. And everybody is plugged into it. I mean, it's fantastic. Get the fuck out of here.
Is that the original one, McCurdy?
It is. I'm not. I've
Wait,
never,
he froze. Oh,
the same
he froze
one.
with that fucking face.
I've never made another one, but yeah. No, it's like a Illuminati-esque kind of thing where it's like you know, the whole world is controlled by this table, presumably, because it's like someone's got to. I mean, if they're that powerful, right? If the table is that powerful, then you kind of have to assume that they kind of control everything.
Yeah.
Like they've got their fingers in everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's some X-Files stuff, you know.
It really
right,
is just
Charlie?
great.
Right?
It really
right?
is just great.
Right, Chucky? Are we gonna you wanna do the thing?
Little toasty.
Little toasty
Do you guys
here?
I mean, any other notes? You guys always come at me as I've been saying recently.
The
you come
thing
at,
that I
wanted to talk about this, and then I forgot.
No, the thing that I wanted to talk about, I talked about. So like that was the one thing I forgot as I was watching the movie. I was like, oh yeah. So that was it. Like everything else about this movie, I just like it's just there's a lot there, and I kind of like, it was a great movie though. Definitely go see it in the movie theater. Don't go see it at home. Don't watch it on.
Contribute to movies like this. Don't go
this
see
is
Cocaine
why
Bear. Punish Cocaine Bear by not giving it your attention or money.
But you know what, Charlie? It made $80 million,
like
so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, that guy that came in, it was like, Scream 6, #1 movie in America. That means it's good. Like, okay, yeah, Twilight was the #1 movie in America at some point, okay?
Guess what? This movie is the #1 movie in America now,
Meanwhile, isn't Shazam like bombing, unfortunately?
Yeah, we didn't mention this, but like there's a lot more to that.
There's
it's not really our channel to talk about. It's like something if you want to talk about afterwards.
DC is imploding right now.
But Shazam's so good. Like, go see it, people.
Shazam is
a really good movie.
It's a quality movie.
C1, C2.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Mr. Lance Reddick, it's, you know, when someone like a Connery passes away when they're very old, it's not sad. It's more of a celebration. It's like, you did it. You made it to the end. But Lance dying at 60, it's tragic for the obvious reason that, you know, he had a lot more movies in him. You know, he's 60 years old. He could have been in movies for another 3-4 decades. So that's where it's a tragedy.
My ass.
Supposedly, I did see this. I glanced over. Supposedly he will be in Ballerina, but I don't know for that for sure. So this is his first post-harmonious. Like we did that with Ray Liotta when we saw Cocaine Bear. It's like he has other movies coming out. One of his last movies. So there's a potential possibility that we'll see more of Lance Reddick in a couple other films down the road. But as of right now, this is at least like if you're gonna pass away, this is a great movie to be like, this is like a good send-off movie. You know, like I know that sounds very morbid.
No, your last movie being Cocaine Bear, no, you're not being honored. You were in Goodfellas, dude. Yeah. And then fucking Cocaine Bear has the audacity to dedicate your piece of shit movie to the great Ray Liotta, you fucks. But then I almost expected there to be a dedication to Lance at the end of this.
There is actually, if you watch the very end of the movie after that post credits scene, there is for Lance Reddick. Yeah,
great. Okay. Good. But raise a ranked mug with booze in it to the late, great, now passed away Lance Reddick, who just like Donnie Yen, just classed up these movies. Just
he's awesome in these movies.
He's great. It's just
especially in 3. I love when he
perfect.
arms up with John.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. At some point they
defend the
they unleash him as a badass on par with John. So to Lance, thank you, sir. Sorry you had to go so soon, but rest in peace, dude. Good night, y'all.
All right.